Deep in the forests of North America, a creature is said to exist. A creature that people are encountering. With far too many reports to ignore, there are elements of truth behind these accounts that mankind can no longer ignore.
Breaking news out of Texas, Bigfoot is real.
Could a breeding population of large, upright, hairy hominids really exist in North America? Or is there something more paranormal at work here, deep in the woods? If just one footprint, one wood knock, or one howl is real, then man's understanding of primate evolution would be changed forever. Join the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective as they delve further into the mysteries of Bigfoot and other paranormal phenomena through the eyes of witnesses, investigators, critics, and skeptics. Join us as we look to discover what lurks from behind tall trees.
All right.
Intro, yeah.
It got better, right? It got better than last season.
Dude, my favorite thing is that last shot with the hand in the way.
How badass is that?
That's officially cool. Like,
How
that's
badass
cool.
is that?
Nailed
Yeah.
Nice.
When Brendan first sent that to me, I think I watched it about like 9-10 times in a row.
Yeah.
That's how captivated I was. It was fucking awesome. Yeah, exactly. I had that same look. This is From Behind Tall Trees, season 2, our second episode of season 2. Charlie and I are making our debut. We got a friend of the podcast coming back, Ryan RPG Golkembeske, and he brought a friend with him this time, James Brost.
I brought the real brains and the real talent.
You're pointing the wrong way.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. I did the same
Someone's
thing.
been drinking.
Yeah, it's like a fucking Brady Bunch right now. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, dude, that's the back. That's James Brost, the back. He can't like bust his shirt off and show you right now on air because literally, do you know how many people would have to stop and go take a shower just to cool down to watch this show? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's another thing. We go to get on. I'm in the room, the waiting room, the green room of the web, right? And I see he's got this awesome freaking sweater and it's blue, and I'm literally putting on a blue shirt, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I'm that chick that's like, but I caught it before anyone did it, so then I went and busted out all red.
We could have did blue. We could have did blue.
We could have been just team blue. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I overthought it.
I mean, we're kind of close, except you RPG. We all have like, I think me, Chuck, and James kind of like different shades.
Dude, this is Poland, man. I'm representing Poland, son.
Nice.
Poland doesn't get enough
Old
respect
country.
in the crypto
He went
paranormal realm.
old country on his ass.
Yeah. Pierogi.
The homeland.
There was a really interesting Bigfoot video, I think, that came out of Poland or somewhere in East Europe, either Poland or Ukraine. I forget where it was, but that's what it. That's
Wait, which are you talking about? The night trail cam where it chases the car? Are you talking about the one where it's peeking?
No, it was like someone was in like a really like mountainous areas, like a really like a rocky outcrop area, and they were filming something that was dark bipedal figure. It was like going through it was climbing rocks or walking through rocks or something like that. I gotta find it, but it was cool. It was cool.
Hey, real quick, Tyler Howell, Connor Flynn jumped on. Good
Yeah, you
guy.
got your OutKast
Good
boys
guy.
on here. That's fucking awesome.
Nice.
Where do I see that? Where do
Tyler
I see
Howell,
that?
OutKast for life.
Go to
noted
the
Can I get an
YouTube
amen?
page.
Oh,
Amen.
Good looking
yeah,
out.
buddy.
My
What up,
man,
Tilly?
Connor Flynn, the machine. I always tell him on his podcast, Connor Flynn is ancient Hebrew for the machine. This kid does not stop.
He was
Wait.
a
You're referencing a Joe Rogan episode of the guy who does his stand-up routine, The Machine, right?
No, it's just Connor's the machine. It
Oh,
fit.
wow.
I told him that when I met him. It was like I told him we could squeeze him and use his sweat for an energy drink. I mean, this kid's like out of control. For real.
Connor Flynn was one of the speakers at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference this year, right? Back in January.
Yeah. He was on the round table. He was in the round table, and he just we all hope that we can speak to our true, like, authentic voice. He's someone that actually does it. If there's any holding back, I can't see it, and so it's wonderful to see someone like that just monologue and rip and just drop all these beautiful golden nuggets of wisdom without giving a shit. It's amazing. It's amazing. He's a superhero.
Yeah,
you can only hope to contain him.
Yeah, I was disappointed I couldn't go this year. I had an awesome time at the first one back over the summer. Don't say that.
Where do you live?
You're upsetting me. I live in New York.
Oh, well, it's not like around the corner, so I get it.
Yeah. But
But it is cold as hell up here, so yeah.
It is. I definitely could use a break. I definitely could use a break.
Any reason to get to Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
For real.
You know, but like, even so, just with like just the way things are going right now at the airports and stuff like that, all the flight delays and cancellations.
Yeah.
You know, definitely would have been hard. But I had a great time with the first one. That's where me and RPG man come on bumping into each other. Might have been a little stalking involved.
Keep on bumping into each other. Every time I'd go, it was like a horror movie. I would turn and look, and there you would be.
With this
just like charming smile, and then you're like, "Hey, what's up?" But like the car, everywhere. I took a shower. I was like, "Well, at least hand me the soap." Like, I don't know how you got in here. It was amazing.
I was trying to do my Norman Bates impression, but
No, but let's speak to it, right? I can bust your balls about it, but at the end of the day, what was it? Like, you're really passionate about this shit, man, and nothing was going to stop you from talking and having a conversation, and you did it. Sure. Look where we are now. Like, if it wasn't for your balls, like, this wouldn't even be happening. So kudos to you,
Much appreciated.
You got to deal with me going, wait, who am I? You're amazing, man. You're amazing.
Likewise.
Hey, Ryan, real quick, thanks for stopping by the Broken Branch Design booth in this past conference. I really appreciated you stopping by, and I really enjoyed your company. So thank you.
Yeah, they were like, oh, sorry, hold on, stupid stuff popping up. It's for me, it's like all just about energy with people and that's like, they're like a country store. That's what it felt like. Big smiles, big energy. Dude, they were wonderful. My only regret about emceeing conferences is I don't really have much time to like actually really chill with people, and I would have loved to have hung with them more. So
yeah.
So you guys actually had a pretty solid lineup at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference this past July. You had Connor, you were back. Stacey was back. I know Robert Robinson was.
David Sidoti.
Roundtable Sidoti. You had what's her name?
Marie,
yeah. Lyle Blackburn. Why don't you give us a quick lowdown about what happened, what I had the mispleasure of missing?
Oh, all of it. No. What happens every year when we have these events, right? It's like people get a little more comfortable with this truth that we all share, which is Bigfoot is real, and I'm fascinated by it, and I want to share it with people. So you felt that bonding level just up a little bit, even though our world has been clouded by the flu, COVID, whatever you want to call it, and so it was really kind of amazing to see people come together like that, and then to hear the speakers, and everybody has like their own viewpoint, right? So really, it's a gathering of all these tribes that come together this once a year, kind of put their weapons down and stand side by side and share their research. And I don't know what I loved about it is it like started this year with local people, like all the people that are here. Mm-hmm. So like if you really are interested in going out and doing this, boom, here's the people. They're super active, they're super friendly, and they would love for you to join them. So I thought that was awesome, to kind of open up with that into the world, because the real fans are there early. And then some of them come later on because that's when the big speakers are up, and dude, there was obviously some heavy hitters. And like Lyle Blackburn is a legend. I call him like the Prince of Paranormal, because he's so ridiculously talented. I mean, he literally started as a rock star and was like, you know what, I'm going to take a little time out from leading, which we would all agree more than politician, athlete, anything is like the top thing to be a rock star. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go pursue Bigfoot. And it's not going to affect my my sexiness at all. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that dude's a rock star. And then obviously, Having Lauren Coleman is exceptional, which I don't know if you guys heard.
Yeah, that was a tremendous.
Dude, we all noticed like something. Like James, we noticed something was off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was ill, I guess, or it fell, or and his neck was tweaked, so he was not feeling his best. So
he was basically having a heart attack like that whole time, and he worked through it. Like he is the godfather or the grandfather of crypto, like in my opinion. And I'll just say that many books, that he's created a temple or a mecca for people to go to and learn from him. Like, dude. Anyway, Lauren, if you're listening, rock star, man, rock star. Thank you for setting a standard none of us can follow. And then Maria, here's all I can say is, if you're a hater at all, come watch her talk once. Her life is so effing inspirational that the only thing you can hate her for is making you feel lazy at what you've accomplished. And to do all that and have 6 kids and
6. Wow.
I can't even, like, it's, how is she doing it? You know, like that's one of the things I talk about James and Stacy, you know, in OutKast Paranormal. It's like they have 36 hours in a day where the rest of us are dealing with 24. And we're like, how do we get ahead like that? She's like that, man. She's awe-inspiring. And I think I hadn't seen her talk, and some of us, so we hadn't really know. Oh, it's a talk about yourself? Like, oh, okay, yeah, good luck. You're gonna get torn apart. And then at the end, Miles on the floor, just like, is that her real life? So she's the right person for that show, and I just want that stated.
Yeah, no, I agree. She sat right next to us. We had a table set up. We had our trailer for our first episode running on a loop on the table, and we had merchandise and whatnot. And she was super cool. You know, she was getting buried with people coming up and wanting her to sign stuff, and she looked like she's about to pass out. So I gave her like half a chicken burrito, and it was like, she was reluctant to take it. And I'm like, listen, you're hungry. I know it. She's like, dude, I'm starving. But what was also really cool about that conference was we got an opportunity to premiere our first episode in the theater there. And RP Funding Center in Lakeland is like ballets, you know, bands and stuff. So it's a legit venue. And we got a chance to do it. And as we're doing it, RPG kind of leans over and says, dude, if we don't have some of these old people at the end when things get pretty hectic in our episode, if they don't get up and leave, we messed up. And what did we count? 9 people left?
When the first couple left, I was like, yes, because we're going for something different. This is a graphic novel. It is an action horror doc. It's powerful, but you don't see it coming. You're like, I just never experienced this genre like this. And the first couple, and by the time I got to 9, I'll be honest, I was like, all right, that's kind of a lot. I think most of them were little old ladies, but anyway, sorry to sidebar, James.
No, and the cool part about it was afterwards, we kind of got feedback from people, right? Because it was a test drive, first time. And one of these guys that I saw there that, you know, we're an hour and a half away in Sarasota, conferences in Lakeland, and I bump into him at the gym. And I know he's like a big paranormal fan. So whenever I'm at the gym, he corners me in like 20 minutes interrupted workout. I got to walk through all the stuff we're doing. And he was there. And next day we get back, I see him at the gym, and I'm like, what did you think? And he made the comment. He's like, dude, I watch all this stuff. And the shows out there now are starting to turn into 80s rock. It's kind of commoditized. It's called all the same format. You guys felt a lot like Nirvana. And that was like, yes, that was kind of the comment we were looking for, you know.
Dude, that's the greatest compliment we are ever going to get. And I want to buy that guy whatever he wants. Steak dinner, you know, hand job, you name it. Let's get this guy what he needs. But here's the other thing, right? So the people walked out, and what does that really say? It says that, and keep in mind, they watched the entire movie until our climax. So what does that tell you? That like they were enjoying the ride, and then it became too much. And that's a message we're sending out. We're like, yeah, come watch this. It is afterwards you're gonna wonder, should I watch that? Why is this kind of like resonating and staying with me? But here's the beauty. So those 9 walked out, but the remaining 60-ish people, when I was, and James was up there with me, so he can attest, when I was looking out there, what I saw were true fans, like diehard fans, like people just with such a big smile that they wanted to just go yeah, fuck yeah, just because they were so excited that something, I don't know, new and really intense had hit the scene. And I will never forget that. That was one of the most. This whole process is such a long, drawn-out thing. We could tell you it's amazing, right? But what we've accomplished together as a team is different. It's gonna change. It's a new flavor, boys. It's a new flavor. We can't wait to share it with you.
That it
Yeah.
is. And I'll be candid. I didn't. I met RPG and Stacy. I met Stacy a number of years back, right? When he was down here doing stuff in Mayaca. And I'd sponsored an event at a place where is one of his spots. And we just kept in touch. And then when he was going to film this, he's like, hey, you want to come out? I'm like, well, yeah. And then he's like, call this guy Ryan. And I'd watched Expedition Bigfoot. I knew who Ryan was, but I thought it was RPG. And he was like, just call this guy Ryan. And so I did. And he's like, hey, I'm in Little Compton, Rhode Island. And, we got the straight out of Little Compton, the reference out of the way quickly. And then he was, hey, can you go down and can you measure and check the distance from this, power outlet? Can you find power for us there? Can you call this guy in England? I think it was Patrick Jackson. He wants to Skype you in this place, and then ended up helping with the permit, getting housing. And it just turned into having a knack for production. Right. And I think with what I do for a living served it well. So we said, let's do this for real. And here we are, and I always joke, if there isn't homicide or suicide, it's going to be pretty awesome. This is going to turn out well.
Dude, all the best. They that show, the movies that made us. If you watch that, it's amazing, and it gives you the insight into like how hard it is to put art together. And you guys know, just to do the podcast itself, and you're all strong personalities, and you have great ideas and how to like do that. I feel like we should spend more time in school learning about that, conflict resolution and all that shit, but we're getting it done. We're getting it done, man. And I don't know. I'm hoping that what we are in the process of building is a paranormal Beatles, or Nirvana. I'm sorry, Nirvana, to be more.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Yeah. My bad. I want to say the Doors, but whatever. Yeah, dude, it was killer. I hope everybody that creates something has a chance to stand, be judged by their peers, and then afterward, like, just swim in the joy of that moment. I think it's awesome, because at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? We're creating a vicarious voyage for people. We're creating a way for people to feel like they've come and joined us, and then hopefully someday they actually can. We just have to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, and just I was about to.
Get that cat out of here.
I got one in my room. My cat hates me, so.
Probably mine.
But yeah, I love. I just love like Brad. Just like the Facebook group alone you guys have. It's always so filled with like different people contributing different unique content and everything like that. It really adds like a unique perspective to this whole paranormal phenomena that we're all trying to figure out. But I remember just with just watching I haven't had the pleasure to watch the full movie yet. Just like watching the trailer of the Skunk Ape experiments. I loved your opening line in RPG where you're like, we're out here looking for Bigfoot, and I think you said something along the lines of questioning our friend choices or who our friends are or something like that. And that just kind of resonated with me, because especially like in this 14 field, like a lot of these outings and expeditions, you're pretty much going out in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere with people that, for a lot of these, are literally just
could chop you up and eat you. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. And like you're literally doing this with like people like sometimes you're just meeting for the first time. So you're pretty much, I don't want to say forced, but you're pretty much, putting like a level of trust in these people that, let's be real, any other situation, you probably wouldn't give them that type of trust. So I definitely think it says a lot just about, who we all are as a community and everything like that. So, I just thought it was like, something great that you touched on with that.
Yeah. Well, we're making a film series, and I have recently moved to Florida. So I'm the new Florida man, I'm in
Florida
training
man now.
Yeah, and it's awesome. I'm honored, but like I'm not, and Stacy is, James is, and so for me, Josh, Emmett, like everyone, Paul, the whole thing, Joey, they're all. This is where you try to like list everyone so nobody gets left out. So nobody gets missed. Marty, oh God, who else? Roger.
Roll the credits, Brendan.
Yeah, but that's the nice thing. It's the mixed bag of nuts, and I don't know. The goal is to eventually we all have that moment where we get to like stand up and kind of shine and show like how passionate we are for this space. And that's we got a good foundation. We got real lucky with James. He's like, the way I see it is, Field of Dreams, when like they come out of the left field and it's like the best outfielder of all time, but you just, who the hell is that? That dude was like from 1920. And I just remember everything that James did was done to like a top level. Like he'll talk himself down, man, he will, but like instantaneously good producer of content, like instantaneously, just first try. And personally, I like to surround myself with that level of like intellect and talent and drive, because I got 3 kids, dude. I'm fucking exhausted. I'm miserable. I haven't slept in 3 years. And they are literally inspiring, kind of how hard and how much they're hitting it. So anyway, I think I got completely off track, but I just had to verbally jerk James off on air. Sorry about that.
Thank you, because physically it's been a while. So. No, and listen, again, I was surprised because I didn't know. I'm like, oh, RPG. Well, okay. There's RPG, there's Stacy. And again, I'll go down the list. Josh Watson, Emmett Kessler, Marty Morgan, Ed helped us out. Monge, is it Monge or Mong? Ed, the cameraman, he's in film school now. Bill Brock, Joey Badia,
all these people nobody knows.
Connor, we're getting rolled into. It's there's a lot of folks. I miss them my bad. But what's cool is like I've got this business that I've had for a number of years where I work from home. I talk to engineers, right? I do like headhunting, recruiting. And so I'll talk to an engineer about building design. He's a mechanical engineer. Does he have his PE certificate? Does he use Revit? And then the next call, or I'm texting somebody saying, well, listen, he does have that picture of the entities coming out of the portal, in a talk about a duality, right? Like, but I actually, and RPG knows this, I had I do my own thing and that pays the bills, but I had an offer from a company, a big tech company where my friend worked, and they made me a very generous offer. And I had to go back and tell them, I can't take it. And they're like, really? And I'm like, I regurgitate it. I do paranormal shit. And this is what I do. And I don't have time. If I do this, it's a commitment that I won't have time to do this. And maybe I'm freaking nuts and shooting myself in the foot or screwing myself. And I still might be even without doing that. But I get texts and calls from this VP and stuff. They're like, so what's going on, man? How's that going? They're real genuinely like interested in it. And I thought maybe they think, I knew he was kind of a freak, but no, they're like, really into it. It was surprising.
And let me add to that like a little bit without giving away like any names. One of the reasons that as we build our paranormal armies, our teams, that we should stay completely wide open to everyone, regardless of how much time they've actually spent in the trenches with us, is because his skill set, dude, he's a headhunter. He literally can get through to anybody. And I mean, let's be honest, that might be the greatest skill anyone can have, because our field, in terms of dealing with people, getting through to people to share their secret spots, their places with, that's the hardest thing. That's literally the hardest thing. Walking around the woods, shit, we can all do that. And this mother trucker, like I said, without giving away names, is already lined up 2 absolutely amazing places that like TV is fighting for. And this dude who walked out of the left field, an angel. You call everyone else an angel, you fuck. I know you're the angel. And he walked out. And he's got these things that he's working on. And don't let him fool you. He's a nice dude, but he's like a pit bull. When he gets a hold of something, let me tell you, I say maybe we shouldn't focus on that. Maybe we should do this. Yeah, okay. And he's on it. Really.
I just do it anyway. Yeah.
He's gonna get it done. And that took the skill set of someone passionate about the subject, but with a completely different background than anyone I've ever worked with.
So someone So someone actually had a question here in the chat. Well, not so
How
much a
dare
question.
they?
More as a
RPG is
statement.
not single. Sorry.
Damn
it!
Well. If you know where to find Squatch,
Maybe we can talk.
we are now down to one viewer.
Oh, Nona, what's up, Nona? She's
Yeah.
a Florida. I always see her popping up and always saying hi and everything. So take that. RPG was there with the wild hog. You can answer your question.
Nona, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Nona, not Nana. Nona. If you've never been on a wild pig hunt, it is something that will excite you, infuriate you, make you immediately afraid. It's like a beautiful accident that's happening live in front of you, and it is one of the most athletic things to ever witness, like, unfold and happen. So I won't go into like crazy detail like usual because it'll be 20 minutes, but imagine this: walking out into the woods and you got one giant kid, okay, like the kind of kid you're like, yeah, that dude, he wrestles giant pigs in the woods, because these pigs can get up to like 300 pounds. Okay, that's such a large animal, like it's just crazy. So anyway, you got the one guy that you're like, oh, he could do it, and then you got this little guy walking next to him. It's like little Spike, big Spike, and they're two girlfriends, and they're just walking out. And I remember, and what is that? Someone talking? Sorry. Anyway, we're walking out, and I just remember just following behind them, and it was the sway of the girls' butts just going like this, and then you'd look to the side, and there'd be the two dudes' butts that moved differently. I don't know. That's the image. As we like walked into the fog, and I was like, I need to stay focused. And then when we got there, it happened so quickly that none of us were prepared for it, which was what was amazing. They're like such finely trained athletes. Here's how it goes. You release the first dogs, and they go around and they bay and they find it. And then they're holding this pitty, a female. And it wasn't even that big of a dog. I'm like, doesn't this dog need to be bigger? Don't we need like dire wolves for this shit? And dude, the second they bayed and boom, it was off. And these guys were sprinting. And it wasn't even the large guy that went in. We're talking about a pig in the bushes squealing, dogs. It looks like you're looking at like a Bosch painting, like a Bosch painting of hell. You're like, and remember, this is just my ignorance. I never done anything like this. So it was just intense. And I'm an animal lover. I never heard of animals. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy, the little dude, just flew into the bushes, head the head down, head the legs. Big guy came in, wrapped the legs off. Meanwhile, the girls very casually are like, stop to the dog, stop. And I'm talking like the dogs are like, and just stop, pull them away. And then it was the look on the little dude's face. He just won the Super Bowl. He won 4 Super Bowls in a row. And he was pumping. And then I looked at his girl, and his girl was like, when I was like, I think we're gonna have to cover our eyes soon, because it was the most, you can't say manly, I don't know, it was the most powerful, amazing thing I've ever bared witness to, like in the woods, and I had no idea. And so, Nona, if you ever get a chance to go on a pig hunt, the pig didn't get hurt, the dogs didn't get hurt. That is something that can happen, but you will leave the woods and your heart rate will be up. You'll burn 6,000 calories just watching. Anyway, that's my long story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, this is actually a good segue. I actually have a clip of the trailer for something I want you guys to explain yourselves for. There was one part of the trailer where you guys talk about like doing some type of ritual with drugs, and you flash all these they're like all these like satanic symbols flashed up. And then I heard a pig squeal, and somebody was running, and then more drugs. Brendan, play the clip.
It's a typical.
So, here we are, questioning our life choices and what people we consider our friends.
That thing's huge, bro. I don't know what that is.
But maybe the point of having friends is to push you beyond the boundaries of where you feel comfortable. Because that's where I am right now.
Making their way to the same exact spot we saw that Bigfoot 7 years ago, which is crazy.
And the cause of death was essentially a broken neck.
And how did you even notice him? How could you not? 8 foot tall.
Reason why I think it cursed me is because I've seen so many of them.
We're not trying to sneak past the guard. Our goal is to push this fucker into the field where Bill will be set up and waiting.
Whatever it is, it's coming from like essentially where that bale of hay is.
We're about to do something that we've kind of done before, but never to this level, dude.
You're going to take ritual magic and drugs together.
You need to leave an offering, like I'm telling you.
Until you see it, it means nothing. You know what I'm saying? I need to let people know that this is real.
Hey, I need all you guys to move through now. Whoever's going, go through now.
But at least when I'm done, my balls of steel.
Badass.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so that specific part about the ritual and the drugs. Explain yourselves, boys.
Explain yourself. You explain yourself, RPG. I was outside, like looking for Bigfoot while you guys were doing that.
The trailer is meant to shock and awe you. I mean, that's it, to make you think like, what are they literally going to trip the light fandango? Are they going to go to this place that I would argue people are doing? They're just not doing it on camera. And we did. There's no other way to say it without giving too much away. You know, how do you have a heightened experience in a haunted house? How do you take it to the next level? Well, we did all the gear. We had all the gear. So now bringing back neuro not thinking and some of the testing and things they were doing in the 60s, even to the early 70s, it's time to go inward and like see if maybe these connections that we're trying to make are right there in front of us, and we are just conditionally hardwired to just not see it or be a different way. You know, that's been my thought process for a few years now. Is everything you've ever been taught is a lie. Everything is bullshit. And you just use that as a starting point, knowing some things are true, right? And you start replacing all of those experiences and rebuild as an adult, I would say. And I think that's important for everyone. But anyway, that is we tripped the light fandango, and I stared into a mirror, and what I saw was fascinating. And we can just leave it at that. And in the moment while I'm doing that, to have Stacy passionately doing the hymn to Pan, reciting this while I'm like, all I can tell you is everything, we've all been brought up different, but a lot of us have been brought up within a religious context. And that shit makes the things that we do very scary for me personally, you know? And it's working through that, because I don't want to be afraid anymore. I don't want to be afraid. Sure. We're basically a team that, like, I hope by the time we're done, one of the gifts of this, besides real proof, is I'm not afraid anymore. You know.
Someone in the YouTube chat asked about the cow or goat or whatever it was that got their neck snapped. What can you tell us about that without really giving much away?
That was actually, we got a call from one of the guys that Stacy's known for years that has a farm, and the whole neighborhood has these experiences with skunk ape, for lack of a better term. And some willing to talk, some aren't. One lady had, she's like a shotgun toting, you know, skull chewing hardcore lady, and we'll go by her house, and she wasn't available, then come back, and then she was in Tennessee, but she had surveillance cameras like posted all around her house since she had some of this stuff happen. And like we got a little clip of what happened with her in there. But we got a call when we're up there. One of his other neighbors had a cow die, and they just wanted us to check it out because they've been having some other stuff going on as well there. And but I'll leave it at that. The cow's dead. Well, the cow's dead.
We didn't kill the cow.
We didn't kill the cow. Yeah, we tried to milk it. We asked how long has this thing been laying there? We can get a little cream in the coffee, but they're like, I don't think it's a good idea. So we didn't.
It was actually pregnant. It was a pregnant. It's really sad. Pregnant cow died. Yeah, and that's life on the farm. You know, it is what it is. But so yeah, anyone listening, we would never intentionally. That's not our goal. But if there's a big dead animal and we could possibly use it to bring in the wild game, which then could be followed by Bigfoot.
And that's kind of what it was about. He's like, here's what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to pull it over here. You might set up some cameras over here. keep an eye on it, etc. And unfortunately, that the guy that owned the farm died a couple months after we filmed. Yeah, so that sucked. His little boy was like 9, and his little boy was like a bigger badass than any of us here. He was like, it's January. It's not freezing, but it's January. And it's Florida, but he's coming out with no shoes on, and he's like, go get the tractor. Little kid like hops up in the tractor, can fly a drone, is a perfect shot. It's like, I think this kid could live on his own, forever.
True survivalist. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a different. Listen, I've never had a place where, when I was talking to somebody and we're interviewing people and we're talking, we always got this as a disclaimer. They come from here. They seem to go through here as a path, and we're talking about these Bigfoot, right? And you follow the live, they follow this, they follow the turkeys, but they come from here and they tend to go this way. So check it out. But don't go on his property; he'll shoot you. And then but don't go on her property; she'll shoot you. I think it was Florida times I was going to get shot if we just weren't very careful. I'm like, I don't even know if I want to go on anyone's property right now. It's a little different when you get out there in Florida.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a standard ground state. Me and Chuck, we live in New Jersey, New York. You're not allowed to defend yourself here, so distinctions are pretty obvious. But I meant to ask you, James. We had RPG on the show during our first season. Fucking kick-ass episode. He kind of got into some of his personal experiences and everything like that. I'm sure you've heard his story about that sighting you had in the car when he was a kid in Maine. What are some I was just curious about what paranormal experiences you've had, or bigger experiences, whatever you want to call them.
Sure. What makes me tick? Well, I like long walks at the beach, pina coladas, and I'm a Libra. Aside from that, I grew up. My dad. I'm the youngest of 8, right? Catholic.
Oh wow.
They took that shit serious, and everyone's named Jay, so it was a very confusing place growing up in my house. I was born on an Air Force base in Alaska, and we moved from Alaska to Alaska, Montana, Arizona, Nebraska, Alaska, back to Arizona, and then I started 6th grade. So it was a lot of moving around. But when we moved back to, or maybe it was Arizona, when I was like in kindergarten, the first time we got led into the library, with the little tiny bookshelves, the first book I got was like, I have the name of it somewhere, but it had Bigfoot, UFOs, Loch Ness. Gravitated right there, and I never left that section. Every week when you check out the book, that's what it was. So I started researching, finding these stories, and then all of a sudden, I'm older, so it was like the 70s, and these shows and Search have started coming on. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I read about that case. So let me cross-reference what they're saying versus what this is saying, and it just started. Like I was a walking little encyclopedia of paranormal shit, and I didn't really have any friends that were into it. It was my
still
thing.
Doesn't.
It was my still don't. And living in Alaska, I will say, me and my brother, we would go to a place called Seward. My dad would take us almost every weekend. It's a fishing village right there, and we would go in these places. You'd walk, and it's Alaska, and it's out there. And I remember seeing this gigantic footprint, and we didn't stop to see if it was bear, whatever, but it was literally like that big, and you could tell it was freshly made. And my brother just said, come on, let's get out of here. And it never occurred to me that I wish I would have went back and checked it out. And then when we moved to Arizona, the Travis Walton thing happened. Like literally when we moved there, the whole Travis Walton abduction. And then my mom is the toughest bird. I call her Tombstone. Like she's almost 90, too tough to die, right? She says 2 + 2 is 5, and you say it's 4. She'll say bullshit, and that's the way it goes. She in Montana in the 50s had these flying discs fly over the pool, right? Then you go to the film, and there's a film of that with a minor league baseball manager walking out, and he films these things, and Alan Hynek and the whole guy, that was like the best evidence they had at the time. Looking at that, and then she saw one in front of the mountain range in Tucson. She came in, she's like, yeah, I just saw this boomerang shaped sideways triangle with 3 lights in it, kind of darting up and down the mountain range. And I'm like, really, and she could care less. Next day I pick up the paper, boomerang shaped object flies over foothills with 3 lights, and the people describe it. Then I moved to Phoenix and the Phoenix lights. I'm watching the Arizona basketball championship, University of Arizona, in my brother-in-law's condo. All I had to do was walk outside, but that wasn't real-time news. I saw it later on news. And the Phoenix lights, so I've always been around these areas that had this stuff. And then when I finally moved here to Florida, I was asking Stacy, like, where's a good spot, some years back. And he said, Mayaca, literally 20 minutes from there. So there's a few spots that I know he's had some stuff happen. RPG's been there with finding Bigfoot. So a couple spots I've went to. I'll just say this. The thing that kind of shook me up the most was I go there when it's during the week and you have to walk through the north entrance. You can't take a car.
Right.
There's nobody there. And I'm walking through and I do the whole, I'm going to set my intention. I'm going to say, look, this is your place, not mine. I would just like to make it. If you're here, let me know. You can even hit me with a rock, whatever you like.
It's actually funny too how you specifically mentioned Alaska and Montana for just some of the places where like you had some of these paranormal experiences. The CARC, I put together like a little like newsletter that I put out every now and then. I'm doing research for one article right now, and it involves just me getting like cumulative and per capita sightings for like Bigfoot, UFOs, ghost sightings, and they don't rank anywhere close in cumulative, but per capita per 100,000 people, both Alaska and Montana are among the top 10 states for Bigfoot and UFO sightings. I think Montana is second and Alaska was fourth or fifth or something like that. That's just per capita though, like per
Right.
100,000 people. So
Right.
the fact that you happen to mention those two by chance definitely gives credence to that. So you're definitely in the right areas, I guess.
Now, do you remember the Malmstrom Air Force Base incident where the UFOs came over and actually shut down nuclear warheads underground? Robert Salas was a guy. He's been on everything. He just went in front of tried to get in front of Congress recently to get disclosure. I've got something on our YouTube where I interview him. We were there at that time. My dad was stationed in Malmstrom Air Force Base. So I always end up at these places where the shit happens. I'm like, well, I was 2, so I wasn't going to see anything that way. But really,
he
really
remembers.
cool
He's
case.
a genius.
Yeah, really, really cool case. But for me personally, the Mayaca situation where I kind of set intention, I turn and there's a little bit of gravel. And I could hear my foot pivot on gravel. And literally right after I say that, it sounded like a gigantic homeless guy that was drunk, coughing, and kind of almost spitting up in the thick across the bridge. Like there's a trail this way. Here it's impenetrable. It could have been a homeless guy, and it was hot as you know what. But it was very weird. I sit there and I'm like, all right, analysis. I didn't know what to think of it. So I start going down the trail I always go. And it had been raining a lot that summer. The trail's kind of 3 feet of water here and there. And I knew where I was going. So I'm going around it. I get about a quarter mile in. It just goes quiet. Like you're, looking at a dirty magazine at your parents' house when you're 14 and you got the door shut. And you're just like it was that quiet outside and it just shut off. My hair stood up. I start going and then I wussed out. I got about another quarter mile in and my skin was crawling. I turned tail and I literally jogged out of there. The second I got right back to about 100 yards from the entrance, it's like the switch went back on. And, you say that and I hear people say it and they're like, okay. But until you experience it, that was something for me that was like, damn, and you come home and you tell your wife and she's like, that's good, honey. She knows that I'm into this stuff and humors me with it, but, and God bless her. She does. She's just like, he's finally got a hobby. Thank God.
That's lucky for you though. When I bring stuff up to my friends, they all call me a fucking loser. So
I don't know if they're friends.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they're they're candid about it. They're candid about it. They're straightforward. I'd rather them be like that than
They're old school friends, is what you're saying. So they're family. That's different. Yeah,
that's a great way to say that.
Yeah. Family will bust your balls and then be like, do I need to hold the flashlight to this?
And that show just like me and my friends are, like we abuse the shit out of each other. We're very candid with each other. That's how that's how our little CARC clique is. Me, Chuck, Brendan, Sean. Chuck, I'm sorry. You've been quiet all this time. I know you had a couple.
Just
things you wanted to
listening.
bring up. Yeah, I know you had a
No,
couple. I
just-
know you had a couple things I wanted to bring up. So
I'm just listening and enjoying it. But hey, RPG, the last time we talked about your property, have you had any other stuff going on your property?
So the most recent, which I haven't told anyone about yet, which was just really bizarre. That's the only way I can do it, right? So Maddie had come home, and it's so funny because if her dad does it, she'll do it. So he's like, "Oh, I spent $30 on a scratch ticket and won $100." She's like, "You spent 30 on a scratch ticket? You're an idiot." 2 days later, we've got three $30 scratch tickets at the house. I'm like, "What's going on here?" What was neat though is I say, "Okay, I'm going to set my intention." So one thing James and I, Stacey, we talk about, which is like setting your intention, and maybe it is your intention and focus that has something to do with it. And I can only tell you what happened. So now in my head, I go, okay, let's really focus on winning money, right? And I go to focus, I close my eyes. And the only thing I can explain is it's kind of like falling asleep. It just works sometimes, but I don't know how it works. And I go, boom, we're going to hit. And I see a 5, and boom, we get 5 times the amount. Like she literally goes, "Oh my God, we just won 5." Now, first thing you do is dismiss it. I've seen UFOs, I've seen things. First thing I do as a believer, I look and I dismiss it. So I dismissed it. And then I went, "That's weird." So she keeps scratching, and it's like, the $30 ones are like huge. I've never even seen one before. She's going down, and I wait, and I just wait, and I go, "Okay, I'm going to do it again." And I just send out this ping, and no lie. The second I go, okay, the crow like goes off right above my head. We have crows, they're here. I feed them. I actually got one to speak to me, an owl. We go hoo-hoo, back and forth. It's awesome. So then I close my eyes and I do it again. It claws out. So now I'm like, okay, this is either just all happening. I'm in sync with the universe, or like something's happening here. And then on the 4th time, I go to close my eyes. I can't. I'm just like, what's, and I have to look. So I kind of slide on my porch and look off into the jungle. And this is what I saw. You tell me what happened. And I've never seen this in the year that I've been here now. Immediately when I went, just like James said, sound gone. Like you're in a vacuum. And 2 or 3 crows, I don't remember how much because it all happened so quick. And this is literally as quick as this. Look, and it happens. All these crows take off. A hawk takes off. An owl flies this way. And I see a flash of gray, upright gray, go into the, and then the bush is just kind of that. Like, and it happens quick. It happens real quick. And I was just like, what were they all doing? So naturally, I think like, okay, I'm not actually communicating with the universe or using any magic, right? Like that was all luck. And there's a dead animal there. There's got to be a dead animal to have that many different things fighting over it. And I go over there and there is absolutely nothing, no tracks, no nothing. So unless there's a rational explanation for why all those predators were literally in one spot, and it was like they all exploded out of this spot with this upright, just moving blur thing, was insane. So I don't know what that is. I'm not saying Squatch or anything, but I'm saying really bizarre phenomenon on the property. And we continue to have these kind of things like every so many months.
Well, if it's under the premise that if it's under, if we go under the premise that, that gray blob you saw might have been like a Squatch or something like that, it reminds me of one story that I was on a buddy of mine I know. We were on an expedition, that I might like, going on an expedition with another organization.
Yep.
He was saying that I think it was like his father or a father or a friend or something like that. They had a sighting of one when they were on a train, or some kind of moving vehicle. I forget the details, but they said that one of the things they noticed though was there were a lot of crows around the subject. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you brought that little detail up makes me think of that. That's one reason why just from like a researcher, I'm an amateur researcher, but from that perspective though, that's kind of why I think like having a large number of eyewitness accounts taken into consideration is important, because those little subtle details like that, especially when they overlap, really give this stuff like a lot of credence, if that makes any sense.
They're clues. Okay, so there's connections, connection. What is the bird connection? I hope there's somebody out there that's just obsessed with the crow connection, and they're working on that. And maybe they're even inspired by this conversation, but that's a lot of predators in a small spot, and there was no dead body, and I didn't see anything fly off. And it could have been a deer, it could have been anything, but the fact that I was willingly trying to manipulate reality, and these things kept like firing, and I haven't had this happen again. I haven't before. It was just in that moment, and the only way I can really describe it before it goes up is the cold had snapped in Florida, and it was beautiful again. And if you're a Florida person, you bitch about that. You like, can't believe I didn't move here for this. It was a perfect, beautiful day sitting on a picnic table in that moment where you cannot help but be really happy with life. Just like, this is heaven, and that's the only thing I know about it. So maybe we need to be in like a really positive, wonderful state, and maybe that helps, I don't know.
Sure. And I know, like, you're definitely more fine-tuned with like that whole, having the right vibes, having the right energy and things like that when you go out in the field. I'm sure Chuck could attest. What's this? We have Tyler. Oh yeah, your boy Tyler saying, "I use crow calls to locate turkeys during hunting season. That's interesting." Kind of makes sense, I guess. They kind of sound familiar.
Do the turkeys mimic? Can they mimic the like crows? Because I've got the crow to do owl, but I haven't tried to get them to do turkey. But I'm sure they can, right? That's fascinating.
No, because like crows are smart. Like crows, and I think crows and or ravens, like they're really smart birds. I think they're definitely one of the smarter ones out there. So.
Dude, they were the eyes and ears of Odin. Who's to say Odin wasn't this giant, like hominid, like Squatch type figure?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's something there. I hope somebody figures it out.
I remember when I was hiking up in the Adirondacks. Me and my buddy, we got to the summit of Algonquin Peak. It's the second tallest mountain in New York, and there were a couple like ravens up there. And how birds are usually skittish. Like you just look at them, sometimes they'll fly away.
Mm-hmm.
We were sitting there, we were just sitting there. It was just us. It was kind of like an overcast day. My friend was packing a bowl. I was like, pulling out some poutine and stuff like that. And like, there were these two ravens just like right there, that maybe 10, 15 feet away from me.
Yeah.
They're just like they're just like sitting there, just like staring at me, like, canting their heads as if like they're looking at me like, like they were generally fascinated by me or whatever.
Puff give, son.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the universal language. We all have cannabinoid systems.
And like I look, I don't know. I just looked at these birds as if to say, like, do you think you're better than me? Do you think you're above me? I mean, yeah. So
Mike's all paranoid.
The birds are watching me. Well, as one person, I would say sometimes they are. And maybe they're watching you for the Squatch. That would not surprise me.
Have you ever seen that conspiracy theory where people claim that like birds aren't real, like they're cameras that the CIA uses? And
there was the whole group of guys that did that. It is, when you boil it down, and it's a joke to them, but they get people to believe it. So they're doing like shirts, like showing certain birds and then showing like the machinery that they're made of. And they just got it rolling with this whole, just threw it out there. Like, let's just say birds are not real. And people latch onto it, man. That's the way it is.
Hey, did you guys see that video of all those birds like crash landing in Mexico?
I did.
What do you think?
Oh yeah, what happened? What happened with that? I saw like the headlines for it, but
that's a freaky video. What do you think?
I didn't click on it to see where they all went into the ground, but there was like thousands of them, like nosediving at the same time into the ground, like suicide bombers. It was really weird. I have no idea. I'm sure there's a explanation in there, but I didn't see it. I just watched them hit the ground and turn the channel.
It reminds me of that what's that Stephen King movie where like the birds did something like that? Not The Stand.
The Birds.
No, that's not
The
for
Birds.
Hitchcock.
That's Alfred Hitchcock, but that's close.
That's not for Hitchcock.
It reminded me of like we were filming one time in Rome, And Rome has this really beautiful thing where the starlings come in. They go out to the countryside during the day, and they come in at night, and literally just get a bottle of wine, sit out on your porch, and watch these clouds, which that looked like. It would look like it was like a big cloud of birds that somehow hit something, and then just were like. But that's what it reminded me of, like all those birds over and then dropping. But I haven't done a deep dive. I'm surprised James hasn't already like contacted the person who filmed it, is in touch with the U.S. government about what actually happened. Like you saying you don't know? He's lying. He's lying. He's on something. He just can't tell you.
Actually, someone in the YouTube, Daniel Lundy, said that crows used to mimic me calling for my dogs while in the woods hunting.
Yeah,
that's just really interesting.
Yeah. And to add to that story too, so obviously when I went in to look for a kill or something, for a reason for them to be there was nothing. And so I just kept following when you got to that spot, if you look, there's usually, you could spot a game trail going off, usually a few. And I followed it to the river, and a crow stayed right above me and alerted. I went across the river to the other side, and the whole distance that I was going, there was one posted up. And I remember thinking afterwards, I was like, if I'm getting close to this, if in a way that I'm kind of like half paying attention to, should I have kept going? Because were they kind of leading me to it, or were they protecting me from it? Or am I just making all this up because it would be, a wet dream to have this happen? So I don't know, but the birds act weird. And the other thing is not just birds, it's owls. The other two times we had our experiences, the daytime, one of the key factors is Maddie was making owl sounds. I tend to forget that when I tell a story. It's like the being, but she was just practicing, because I do them all the time and the kids like to do them. That, and then that second time, owl sound, like tons of owls to the point where you're like, okay, what the F is going on? Is there like the Great Florida Bigfoot Owl Conference happening in our yard? Like, come on now. But when that happens, something's going on. Every time it gets weird. The dogs get weird. Something gets weird. But no definitive proof. But there's an owl connection too. That's all I can say. Another smart bird. So,
yeah.
Hey, did you see? I was watching this show about crows, right? And this couple had this relationship with these crows in this bird feeder, like water, like like one of those little statues in the backyard on a pedestal with water in it. And these crows, they would leave each other gifts. They would leave the crows gifts. The crows would bring them gifts. Well, their little dog got out and got killed by a coyote. Crows bring the collar back to them.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the dude's like bawling, and it's like, it was pretty, there's something there. I mean, that's not like it's pretty amazing the level of like, they can mimic, they can figure out things like that. It seems like a different level of intelligence for a bird, So I wouldn't doubt with the Squatch, there's like their little sentries or some cooperation going on there for sure, in my mind.
See, it's not the CIA that's in charge of them. It's the skunk apes and the Bigfoot. That's the real deal.
Figured that out.
Yeah, CIA is like, all right, you can have crows. You got crows. Good luck.
But how do you account for the birds using the power lines to charge, though?
Oh, okay. Come on. How deep we got to go?
I mean, hey, there's no time limit on this podcast, We can go all night if we have to.
Then, to be honest, they don't need to go to power lines because the ionosphere has enough. There's enough electricity and energy in the very air itself to do it. And if it is truly advanced tech enough to look like that, then they don't need to sit on anything. They just need to fly. That's my real answer.
Wow.
Tesla, mother truckers, learn it.
Buy Tesla stock.
Oh, well, not the car. I'm not talking about the car. I'm talking about the pigeon man.
Actually, no, not stock. Options. Options is the way to go right now with them.
Yep.
Oh, man. So, Charlie, did you have a question before, or?
No, I was just like asked about RPG and his property, but yeah, no, I'm hanging out, listening.
I meant to ask, by the way. While I was while I was cyber stalking you before our show, I caught your episode on. It's okay. We're over 1,000 miles separated, so it seems. Anyway, I caught your episode with Cliff and Bobo. And you said that you had these. You said there's like someone named Mike, like a producer or a camera guy or something like that. You had a lot of experiences with.
Yeah.
Can you just like into a little more detail? I think you guys had like not a Class A, but like a pretty good visual of something.
We could have actually had multiple Class A sightings, but it's the perfect time of night where
he's like your Lucky Charm guy, right?
Yeah, I listen, once again, I can only guess why he is like a magnet for that activity. But Mike, he just looks different. He's a full-grown adult, but he still has this like kind of size and look to him of someone younger. And I don't know. It makes me think like, well, what do predators in the wild go for? Mostly, if they can, elderly and the young. It's less likelihood of getting hurt, minimalizing risk, therefore you can live longer and healthier. And so I think they're really curious about him, and in just visually, and like it looks like a child, but it's not. It's and that must just be perplexing, right? And then on top of that, we go back to like setting that intention, because we would travel around and I was learning from this wisdom, but like, we're moving around and I might have been the only one on the team, like putting my intention out, like listening to this Native American wisdom and like trying to do that stuff. And for a lot of the people we worked with, it was just a job. Like you have to, it's making TV. So they weren't like believers. They weren't in that. And Mike was like the first one who was willing to like try. And so I'm not even saying we were doing it very well. Like I'm no pro at setting intention and all that stuff, but I do it and I do it religiously. And yeah, man, it worked. And he must also have something else about him. Kind of like James, like wherever he lives, there seems to be epic paranormal activity. With Mike, every time I'd go out, he was the lucky charm. Like if you're going to go out, don't go out with anyone that looks like me or James or you too. Don't be female, have something unique, kid, elderly, anything but us, which is the irony of us being the most passionate about it, right? But yeah, Mike's amazing, and we've shared those things. And I actually haven't talked to him in a while. I always like love all of his stuff online because I think he films for Naked and Afraid now, so he's doing. Like
nice! Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's living remote bush plus filming, which is like double badass, right? But yeah, I should reach out to him. So Mike, if you ever hear this, I love you, bud. And thank you for those experiences. I'm pretty sure that was all you.
It's funny you say that too, because Charlie, Charlie, you could attest to this. That's kind of how Sean is in our group,
Yeah.
He's like the good luck charm. When we were at Bald Eagle State Forest about a year and a half ago, probably had our one of our craziest nights with Sean. He was with Brendan when they got their Sugar and Howls. Did I ever send those to you, by the way?
I don't think so.
I'll send them to you guys. I'll send them to you guys after this. But he was there at that. We were Sean and I were in Tuscarora State Forest. We got a pretty distinct wood knock, and it's ironic too because he seems to be the magnet for all this potential activity when we're out in the field looking for Bigfoot or anything equivalent. His real passion is like more of like the supernatural side, ghosts and things like that. So he's kind of like building out that he's kind of like building out that branch for us right now. But at the same time, I'm just like you have so much you have so much shit happen to you when you're out in the field doing Bigfoot research. Like keep doing it.
Not to take anything with from Sean, but I mean he's a little bit shorter than both of us, so he's a little bit different in size. He's a nice guy. He's the nicest guy, one of the nicest guys I know. So, he doesn't always have a scowl on his face like me, or swearing all the time. So,
except that one time in North Jersey,
yeah, well,
back in November when he messed up his heater or something like that. He was.
Oh yeah, he almost burned his truck down.
He was so pissed.
So.
Yeah, but if he has a peaceful presence, that might be a big component to it. Kind of like a natural, almost innocence or zenness, effortlessly achieved. Could be.
Yeah. Even last July too, him and I were back in Bald Eagle. We did some calls. We got I think we got a possible whoop or something like that. I remember.
Nice.
So yeah, it just adds credence to what you were saying. There's some, and it potentially too, the guy Mike, our boy Sean. It kind of, it's only two people, but it kind of sets up like a potential profile. Like you said, You know,
Yeah.
they're a little smaller, but you know, it's like, oh, they're supposed to be children, but you know, they're not children. What's going on with that? So I don't know.
Well, good. Now I want to get like 50 of them or 100 of them together in the woods. They would just walk out and be like, "This is wonderful.
You read my mind.
Can I pet your head?" Like, I don't know why they talk
You've
like
read
that.
my mind. Get out of my mind.
But you know what's ridiculous though, is that we jest, but that might actually work because we're literally like, "Oh, hey, my buddy kind of looks the same." Oh, hey, I mean, how many people may be having that conversation right now? Like, what do you think the connection is? And it's like, dude, let's just get a bunch of little people out there and see what they're into. And we did that on Finding Bigfoot. They tried all sorts of crazy angles, which was really, I thought was cool. You know, from bringing out a cello player to just trying spectacular things. Because at the end of the day, who knows? Who really knows? And the people that do know, they're not telling us.
Yeah, it's literally, you know, like this field, it's literally all trial and error right now. So, you know, like nothing, you know, like from like us, you know, from, yeah, nothing's really off the table, you know, like subjectively, yeah, you know, you're gonna have people who are going to scrutinize you and stuff like that, but nothing is or isn't proven in this field, you know?
Well, and it's about, and so really in our opinion, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, the greatest thing that you can really do outside of being in the right place at the right time and have a massive amount of luck on tops of like your perseverance is to make friends. Because, you know, we went and filmed at Mayaca, right? So then Dixie, who is the most badass female I've ever met, she ends up hitting us back up because she found something like incredibly weird, and lucky enough, boom, James is on the scene like immediately. Right?
Yeah, and that is like it's good to have friends. I think the connections I've made in really across the board, from freaking Nick Pope, you know, the UFO guy, you guys probably know him. You know, he lives in Tucson, where he retired in Tucson, where my mom lives, and I'll ping him about, hey, that looked really cool when I interviewed you. What were you using? Like, what kind of headphones or what kind of screen? And he'll answer stuff. And it's like, I didn't have that on my vision board to be like asking Nick Pope shit, you know, a few years back, or a number of other people. And I will say this with Bigfoot, it's interesting. And with, I guess, the UFO angle, I'm talking to some people that have had like decades of experience, right? Like, it hasn't stopped. It's changed their lives. It's changed their families' lives. And they all kind of get the sense that the way they do it, whatever it is, they've been picked. You know, there's a reason that they're doing it. It's chosen them, not that they stumbled onto it, that they're lucky, that there's some kind of choosing here, and there's something unique about them. And that's kind of we're trying to figure some of that out as well. And RPG made a comment about Nikola Tesla. Like, there's a quote that he has, and that'll be part of our next experimentation on one of these places is, you know, frequency, vibration, hold the secrets to the universe. If you want to go know those, unlock that. So lining up some kind of experiments that'll go along those lines in a place that, you know, we'll see what happens. So there's that. And then on the Bigfoot side, we were in an Indian reservation in the Midwest, and to them, it's not anything to do with knocking on trees and yelling in the woods. They tried the science approach initially, but it's been in their oral history, their written history, their illustrated history for generations. And the thought was, you leave them alone until these things started messing with people in the town. And they were looking into it, and they ended up trying to do this, like they were watching Finding Bigfoot when it was at the height of its popularity, and thought, let's use these tactics. And the guy's a spiritual guy. He said, I'm going to go with what I know. And that connection, if you ask him, has been the whole connection, that they know his heart, they know his intention. It has nothing to do with being in the right place at the right time, but everything to do with building a relationship through spirituality. And another gentleman, the same thing with UFOs, a pretty remarkable story and pretty remarkable footage, pretty much on a daily basis in North Carolina, of orbs coming down on his property, like flying in the tree line. And it's like, okay, that's an orb with a night vision camera that came in low, kind of zigzagged through the trees, floated up gently, and disappeared. I've got hundreds of pictures from him on other stuff on top of that. But he also says these are angels. You ask him, these are celestial beings. This is, and he goes on to say, he's been told some things about how we have to change, and I've heard that as a common theme, that as a race we need to change. And you're like, if you guys were so powerful, why would you just come down, land on the White House lawn, and say, "Look, motherfuckers, it's time to change"? But there's almost this weird component of free will, and the best we can do is give you a warning. The best we can do is find people. I don't know, like, we'll let you do what you're going to do. So, but you go down the rabbit hole, right? You get to know these people, and a year goes by, and you really dig into them, and you talk to them, and you're like, your whole life has profoundly been altered for 14 years. Your kids, your relationships. There's pictures of NASA people there. It's like, wait a minute, that's John Alexander, a former colonel that Bigelow used at Skinwalker Ranch for 20 years. He's at your place right now. A-Tip, there's Lou Elizondo, there's Tom DeLong, like pictures of them at your property. The second property that this has been going on with, you know, it's like at some point you're like, I think I can see that there's some real shit going on here. I just don't know the connection. I really want to see it though.
What state was that in, by the way?
North Carolina.
And you know, again, it's funny you mentioned. What state are you in, James, right now?
Florida.
He's in the state of ecstasy right now.
I am. I have no pants on.
It's funny you guys mentioned that, because on the cumulative list for UFO sightings, Florida is the number 2 ranked state.
Yeah.
North Carolina is the 10th ranked state. So,
and I lived in North Carolina too. So my hope is to go back. We've got an invitation. I won't tell you who it is because he wants to keep that confidential, but the deal is a couple of us can potentially go up and bear witness to this. And then we'll talk about what we can or can't do, maybe as far as any type of filming. But for that, I just want to, he's talking about people being healed and showing me pictures of a lady with throat cancer that went there the night before. She was supposed to go down to Duke Medical Center, 7 tumors. You see the film, a little light flashes as they're going through, kind of asking for help. Next day she goes, showing me the text from her. All tumors are gone except for one piece of a tumor in her throat was left the next day. And on and on and on. And do you know Kathleen Martin? You know Betty and Barney Hill, the abduction case from the 60s, Betty and Barney Hill?
Was that the one in New Hampshire?
Yeah. Yeah. Their niece has championed their cause for 40 years and has a whole organization around it. She's actually here in Florida. And I ended up getting hooked up with her. And then she ends up hooking me up with a few other people. And you just get this network of people that have these experiences. And you're like, either I'm just resigning myself from real world, or there's some real stuff going on here. And it's almost like it's very easy to step out of it and say, I'm out of the rabbit hole. I got regular real life stuff. But then once you know, you can't not know. And once you develop relationships and they show you things and you talk about things and you see some things with, it's like, there's another reality here. But, you know, if I say that to somebody that's like a friend, they'll be like, on to the next thing. You know, I got to work tomorrow. And so I'm like, I'm not going to go to work tomorrow. I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to do this. You know, I'm going to do this. So, I always
how many hours?
Maybe screwing myself, but here we are.
So how many hours a week do you put towards your passion then? Is it
OutKast Paranormal?
Yeah.
OutKast Paranormal? Too many.
There's no such thing as too many with this.
Well, like, yeah, I spend more time doing this than I do my business, I would say.
Hopefully his wife's not listening.
Right. I'm like, shit. She went to go pick my daughter up from dance. But my wife is coming to work with me, actually. Like, I need some help with it. So she's down. She's like, you know, quit her job as a physical therapy assistant, is going to come work with me. It's like the Addams family around here. My kids do like online school. I'm here every day. She's here. We mill around the house. Like, what do these people do all day? And if you watch me work, you'd be like, I don't see you doing anything, dude. I don't get it, you know, but it's an interesting life, man. And I can't go back to the real world. What can I say?
Sure.
To wrap that all up, this chucklemuck here has somehow found a place with daily UFO activity and another place that could possibly be hiding the definitive proof we've all been waiting for in the world of cryptozoology. And we'll just leave it at that. And so, like, if you really are interested in truth and want to know, then you follow James, because he's going to get there, or he's going to die trying. And that's just how it is.
Now, it's funny, too, that he brings up that, that abduction case in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring up, these friggin' stats that I'm using to write this article for the newsletter. New Hampshire, per capita, per 100,000 people, ranks 3rd among U.S. states in UFO sightings. Guess
there's
what?
Something to it, man. You follow the data. It's like there's something to it, man. It's
Now, from a geographical perspective, guess what state's number 1 per capita for 100,000 people? Vermont. Guess what state's number 5?
Maine.
Now, this pertains to you, James. Guess what states are 2 and 4?
I'm just going to throw out Florida because I'm in Florida. North Carolina. No, I know North Carolina's got to be up on one. No.
Alaska.
Arizona.
Alaska was 4. Montana was 2.
Right.
So top 5 top 5 states for UFO sightings per capita per 100,000 people, from 1 to 5. It's Vermont, Montana, New Hampshire, Alaska, Maine.
Wow.
It just goes to show,
I like it. You're like the walking stat book of that stuff. That's pretty cool. I dig it. I hit you up for some stats for some research on stuff. That'd be helpful. Yeah, I may pin you on that.
I'm gonna stroke my ego right now, Charlie. Tell them about my all those charts and stuff like that I came up with over the summer.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but you know what though? He's so good at it. Just keep on doing it, Mike, and you become an asset to us, and help James out, and help everyone out.
So you got charts and stuff, huh?
Yeah,
he's good, Mike hunting.
We actually have we actually have Tiffany here in the chat. She lives in Vermont. She's had UFO stuff happen there. So again, it just adds, just gives credence to that. This is actually a good segue into something else I wanted to talk about. I'm not sure how involved you were with this, James, but RPG. How far was that experience you had when you were a kid? You saw that figure in the car from Turner, Maine. If you happen to know offhand, if not,
I would not know where that was. Turner, Maine's kind of tucked up here. I don't think we would be going by Turner, Maine from Brunswick, even though that is very close. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't remember.
No worries.
Yeah, dude, Maine's super squatchy, so it's just a lot of land and a lot of area.
So you went up there and you investigated that that supposed video that came out where it was like that, the high school kid and his dad or a friend or something like that.
Yeah.
They got that figure walking towards the path.
Yeah.
I have a couple of, I have a good amount of problems with that, with that video that, we'll get into, but what can you tell me about that? Just, that whole experience, what you thought of the video, why you think it could be legit?
Well, for those of you that have seen the Turner, Maine Bigfoot video, it is bizarre. It's not your standard video, or what is a standard video really, but it's a daylight sighting, and this thing is moaning and kind of stomping through. And I don't think any of us that have basically watched every Bigfoot video of all time would be overly impressed with the video. If anything, you would kind of get your hunches up a little and be like, all right, that seems a little sketchy. But we went there anyway, because at the end of the day, you're working on TV or you're working on anything, and you have a chance to be a little more current and get there a little sooner than you jump on it. And what can I tell you about the family? I've interviewed thousands of people. They were very sweet. They were very nice. We weren't there long enough to get a complete kind of breakdown on them, but the overall vibe is listen, this poor kid put the videos out and then just got destroyed. You think your friends are tough on you, Mike, calling you a loser in this? They tore this kid up, and we showed up and stood in solidarity, and that actually helped him. You go on TV, it does stuff for some people. But it was bizarre because not only is that video faked, but they hired people so when we showed up to then take it to like another ridiculous level, okay, you always have to be open for that, right? But this is like extravagant. This is like people that didn't just get drunk one night and were like, we're planning this, and then stayed drunk for a month to make sure that it happened. It wasn't like that. That night we were in the woods, that is the darkest, craziest, like can only see to like right here kind of night in the woods. The clouds were on top of clouds, and they had all meshed down into the world. It was just green and dripping and branches poking out at your eyes. Dude, once again, these people could have had night vision scopes, like government grade, like X berets and stuff, just running around the woods. Okay. But I believe Cliff Solo Camp there, they had activity. They heard wood knocks. They were trudging around on the old logging trails that kind of went back and then dead ended on the end of hills and even like stomped around there. And everything, it always stayed like a little bit away from them. So now what you have is a large group of people of all different, like believers, non-believers, who are having experiences there. And then when I went out in the woods, and for me to take these 2 apples and like literally, like I said, so dark, I throw it this way and it literally hits a tree that was so close to me, it almost like freaked me out, And then I was like, I look like an idiot. What if this thing's watching me? And then when I threw that other thing down on the craziest, darkest night, 2, 3 in the morning, whatever the hell it was, and that apple hits the water, paploosh, and then something almost instantaneously, it was a little bit, because I actually went down and got on my knee and put my hand out like what I believe is a submissive pose for great apes, and this thing walked out, ploosh, ploosh, picked it up and walked back in the woods. Man, dude, that's super high strangeness. And then to hear them interviewing as well, the thing running and moving in the woods.
Wait. So when you were in Maine, you had 2 apples, you threw them, you did the dealing submissive thing, and you heard something come out from the brush, pick them up, and
this in absolute darkness, right? This thing walked out, and I heard it walk into the water where the logging trail came around. Like I said, it was so wet that it had raised with like, I don't know, foot and a half water, like nothing super deep, but enough for an apple plume. Dude, picked it up, and then splash, silence, just silence. And then the other details of that, which I don't usually share, because once again, you get into that gray area. It's and I always say, like, nature speaks in subtlety, right? It's not going to be like, it's not going to just jump out and go, I'm right here, you idiot. It doesn't work like that. So I was taking stones after that happened, once I like stopped shaking and like got my composure back. And I was just dropping them, like trying to get them to land down there, and they would hit the water. But every time what I noticed, every time mine would hit, one would hit almost identically. Like it was so almost perfect every time that it took me, and once again, it's like 5, 6, 7 times. And then, but I do remember once I noticed, I did it again. And then when you're like, I don't know, it's like me trying to astral project. Like every time I like did it and I get excited, done. What does that mean? But that's very real, man. That's very real to me. I wish all of you that want an experience, that are my friend, like I wish you were all on the ground there with your palms out, like in that moment, because it'll teach you something about yourself. Like we're all brave. There's no doubt we are brave people. But you're actually still a chicken shit in many ways, because when it happens, you will lose your shit for a few, and then you'll get it back. But yeah, it's real, man. If that video's fake, bravo. They went all in and made sure that it was masterful. That's bravo.
I'm going to get to the video in a second. Tiffany in the YouTube chat just asks, to you, RPG, if you've ever had any telepathic like experiences with Squatches.
Yeah. So I took animal communication courses. There's this one woman named Anna Brockenvich, and if any of you can
at URI.
No, they don't teach this shit in school. You got to do this on the sidebar. But I got into it because after I watched this video, it's called Diablo the Panther, and not to go crazy deep dive into it, but basically there was this black panther that nobody could get to be nice, right? And it bounced from zoos to stuff and ended up at this guy they called like the Santa Claus of animal rescues, and he couldn't even get through this thing. So then they call in this animal communicator, right? So we all grew up watching Dr. Dolittle thinking that it's bullshit, but it's really cool, right? That's just for kids. That's make believe. Well, what if that shit's real, man? Like, what if that's real and we're making fun of something that we could be enjoying every day? So anyway, I just start diving into it, get into it, but it's because of this video, because this woman shows up and she just sits there and she kind of looks like what you'd expect, almost like a spiritual librarian type look.
Sure.
And she goes, okay, two things. One, when this cat was in the zoo, it was next to this other cat and it wants to know how that cat's doing. So if you could find out, that'd be great. And then two, how would you like it if your name was Diablo? And every time people came and put their energy and attention and saw you, they were pointing at you, sneering and calling you evil and mean. How would you like it? And I just remember watching that going, what? And then he went, okay. So they found out what happened to the other one. The cat was fine and thriving. And then they changed the name. And that cat in that day, or roughly in that time period, went from being snarling and clashing at everyone, never leaving its cage, to walking around and just being pleasant. Once again, if that's all bullshit, then okay. But if it isn't, then what is that connection? So that just made me super curious. So anyway, I started doing that, and you call it telepathy, but I think it's prayer. I think it's all the same shit. It's just, how do you connect to it? There's all these different ways to wisdom. Just find the one you identify with and latch onto it. And so that was my thing. Just try to use telepathy to reach out. And before I did Finding Bigfoot episode, the supernatural Bigfoot episode, I was really going for it. And for me, it's hard to like sit still and meditate, which seems to be easy for people. But when I'm in motion, I can do it. I don't know. It just works for me. So hard bike ride, but I was swimming at the time. Cold water, swimming in cold water. There's something there too. Cold is a key. And I just remember I was swimming. And all of a sudden I was walking in the woods, and it was all like black and gray and shadows. But I knew that even though it was the details of the woods in a way that I've never experienced. Okay. But I was walking, and what happened was I was like, oh, I'm walking. This is weird. And I was simultaneously aware that I'm swimming, but I was definitely in this place. And then I realized I'm really tall. Like, I'm really tall. And now, once again, I'm literally swimming, putting my intention out to the exact spot where we're going to go squatching, telling them that I'm coming, telling them who I am, and that I want a genuine experience, and that I won't bring cameras if you don't want me to. Like, just fucking pouring my heart, putting golden light out there. And this just takes me over as I'm swimming. Boom, boom, I'm walking. Once again, I get excited. I'm like, holy fuck. This is Squatch vision. I have Squatch vision. And then, and I come out of it. And so to answer your question, that is the closest. I couldn't tell you what that is again. It happened one time, but it happened at that point where I was the most disciplined, the most focused, and the most open. So I'd say, yeah.
Were you swimming laps, or were you just swimming in the ocean, or like what?
I'm sorry. I was in the pool at the hotel. Just
okay, all right, cool.
Swimming, getting pumped for it, just trying to be in the best shape of my life, the best mental shape, emotional shape. I'm going on TV. I'm gonna make it. This is it. This is my big, just in the zone. And I broke through to some other side, which is kind of crazy. Which is what we were able to do filming the Skunk Ape experiments, but this time with psilocybin and mirrors and spells. But it was very similar to that, what ended up happening to me, like this other vision. That's the only way I can explain it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Hey guys, I have a hard stop at 9:30 for me.
Yep.
But I really appreciate you having me on an RPG. Thanks for inviting me along. And listen, just a couple things. We've got, like I said, an episode coming out. We've got a couple more. We'll let you know which platforms that they're going to be available on. And then we've got some other stuff lined up. So it should be an interesting year. And if things pan out, we may be having a press conference. Who knows? So fingers crossed. But I appreciate it, man. And
yeah, definitely, James. Definitely appreciate. Yeah, we definitely appreciate you guys. Taking the time out of your schedules to join us tonight. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was great meeting you. Great connecting with you. We definitely love to definitely love to have you guys on again soon. So,
absolutely. You guys can do any more? Now, you guys doing any conferences before besides the stuff you're working on, you guys doing any other conferences or anything like that?
We'll be at the
Oh, no,
Smoky Mountain
PT.
Bigfoot Conference. Yeah.
Smoky Mountain.
Is that in Gatlinburg?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be emceeing that.
Okay.
Yeah, OutKast Paranormal. We will have a small army there, so please come, say hi, pick our brains, give us your wisdom, share your wisdom with us. We're open. We're all outcasts. We're all together, and hopefully, we team up, we find the truth.
Yeah. And I definitely love that, like, we're all outcasts coming together type mentality, because psychologically speaking, a lot of people that are into this stuff kind of have that, like, outcast mentality. So, just like having that feeling of belonging and stuff like that, it really does a lot for some people. I just want to, segue back to the Turning Maine Bigfoot video. So, what we're about to show, it's not the entire video. It's two separate clips.
James, love you.
Peace out, James. Nice meeting you. So we're about to show two separate clips from the video. The actual video itself is about 3 or 4 minutes long. But Brendan, play the first clip with the audio and then follow it with the second clip that shows, like, the actual object. Or
Yeah.
Pretty heavy stuff. So these are my problems with the video. Number one, it just seems a little too convenient that, and again, like, you can provide any fillers with the backstory, I'm just basing this off, like, the video I saw. He literally sets up the camera, this kid literally sets up the camera on that path, and a few minutes later, this thing happens to just, walk across right there. Perfect view. What's your rebuttal to that?
My rebuttal is, it's what makes comedy great, right? Going back and picking on things you've already talked about and switching into a joke. What is one theme we have touched upon and we both had experiences in? Who got this video again? And what did they look like?
Just some kid, right? Some kid and his dad or something like that?
A little guy, another little kid. And keep in mind, this activity was happening. This wasn't just like, that was the day. They've been dealing with this for a period of time. And obviously, whatever that was, if it is real, was comfortable around them. When I first saw it, I'll be honest, it made me think, like, do Sasquatches also suffer from mental retardation, handicap? I don't know the correct way to say it these days, but
there's like an autism theory or something like that.
Autism, yeah. Like, either that thing was in emotional duress or there was something special about it. That was my first vibe from that video. But I would say that if it is real, this is a small person, very innocent, very sweet. This kid was just like, barely spoke a word. He was like a church mouse. He had a vibe about him. I don't think this thing felt threatened in the least bit. Now, with that said, yeah, it is very convenient that set up on that logging trail. But if you were to go to that area, it is a wall of trees with this old logging road that kind of winds in. So that is literally the only point you could see in. And in the summer, it's like super verdant. So just thorns, everything growing up. I don't know, man. It's weird, because why put that out then? Get your ass kicked by your peers and the public. Like, we all know. We've all been shamed to the point of actually being embarrassed about being into it at some point. That's something I think we all feel. So why would you do that? This he was just excited. It's real. It's real. So unless somebody was messing with him, that's interesting. I don't know. I hope someday to be doing a show and somebody comes on and be like, oh yeah, that was Jeremy. We got drunk and we decided to like mess with him for a month.
I definitely think there's it's kind of like a gamble though, if you think about it. It's kind of like a high risk, high reward gamble. You put this video out, either people are going to believe you and you're going to get all that instant glamour and fame that, which is a precedent that I think, Patterson and Gimlin set. Would they came out with their video in 1967, or you're gonna get scrutinized. Charlie, what do you think about that?
I mean, since it's a young kid, give him some credit. But if he starts putting out stuff every 3 weeks or every, what I mean, like if he starts becoming like, oh, this is it, then you might call BS on it. But if it's one video and with his dad, then I would give him it's due respect. But who knows? If it is a hot spot, maybe they will get another better video or film.
Now I'm not too familiar with with like the Maine geography. Is Turner, Maine more like Western Maine, Central Maine, Eastern Maine?
No, it's kind of like down in the start of it, like as you come all the way down to the point where it goes down to hit Mass.
Okay.
Or is it Mass or New Hampshire? Sorry, I'm from New England. I should know this better. But it's
shame on you.
Yeah, I know. It's so. Is it Western? Yes, but it's not at the point where in your Western Maine you're like super far from the ocean. I guess.
How far from the Appalachian Trail? Is it close to the Appalachian Trail, or is
I don't know. I just know that. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's just.
Go ahead.
No, it's just interesting because Western Maine is kind of like where at least based on the BFRO database, that's where the majority of their sightings are coming out of Maine. Is the western part, where where it borders with New Hampshire, kind of closer to the White Mountains and everything like that. So yeah, like the one thing. Oh, I'm getting choppy.
You're back.
Okay. I'll probably hear from Brendan about that later, but no, it's just interesting how it comes from Western Maine, where a good amount of the majority of reports from the BFRO come out of, and a couple of other sources and stuff like that have come from there. The one thing that's particularly interesting though is the reenactment they did was pretty solid. They took note of how quickly that thing crossed the road, and how when they reenacted. The other thing too was the way the thing took its steps and stuff like that. Humans, when they do a step, it's heel to the ground and then up like that. Alleged Bigfoot, alleged Squatches, they'll do just down, up like that, and that's the latter is kind of whatever that was had appeared to have walked. So again, I have my issues with the video, but at the same time though, there's a pretty strong argument that you definitely backed really, really well. I didn't take the size factor into consideration, but it was just very, very interesting video, and I thought it'd be particularly cool to bring up with you, especially since you had your sighting in the car in Maine and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, it's squatchy, and we went, and all of us were having experiences there. So if that helps people believe more that that's real instead of fake, who knows? I think the main point is if you're really into this, keep your finger on the pulse, and when something happens nearby to you, have the cojones to reach out and see if you can go investigate, because these things tend to happen in these kind of 2-week periods where they're moving through, they're passing through. Maybe this is their old stomping ground and they're just back, to spend a little time, eat the wild berries, and then move on. So just be ready to launch, paranormal special forces. That's what you should be, and you should be ready, because that's going to be your best chance, outside of cohabitation, of possibly getting an interaction.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've
Everyone's been voted off. Like everyone's asleep.
yeah, everyone's voted off the island.
I was just about to
No.
start stripping, man. It's about to get interesting. Let's go for money, for charity.
If you want the X-rated version of this podcast, feel free to subscribe to our adult-only content.
Well, I'll tell you this
about that.
Yeah, if I ever actually have like legit Class A sighting where it's undeniable, like I'm just like, I will come on the show and do the full adult mangina. I got the best, and it's awesome.
All right, you're officially on record for that. So
yeah, you will never be on the show again, is what I hear. But yes, that.
No. Oh, goodness, please, you're going to be our main lead off for next season now.
We don't hate man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, boys, man, it's awesome. Your enthusiasm and my favorite person to meet from history would be Socrates, for the simple reason that all he did was go to the well and just talk with people. And so I have a deep respect for people that do that. And that is literally what you're doing. You've built a well, you're inviting us to come tell our stories. So thank you for just spreading our stuff, man. And hopefully making more people feel good and okay about it. And,
for sure. For anyone who's out there, like OutKast Paranormal, check out their website, check out their Facebook group. They're legit. They got their movie, The Skunk Ape Experiments, coming out. It's definitely on top of my list of movies to watch right now, so I'm super pumped about that. We got to figure out a time where we could all get together, get out in the woods one of these days. So,
yeah, well, we'll be traveling. That's the game plan, is to start Florida based, just time, resources, everything, and then once we have a budget behind us, to begin spreading and of course, dude, we're going to come by Jersey Devil. You tell me we're not going to tackle that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to go northeast. Yeah, that's where my heart and soul is at. So, yeah.
Didn't we have something weird, Chuck? That one time we were in the Pine Barrens. Like, remember we hung out? We got the trail cameras. We hung out for a bit.
Yeah.
We did a couple of calls. It was like dusk though. Like, it was like middle of winter. Dusk. We heard some weird call. I don't know if it was like an owl or what it was. But...
Yeah, it was I bet you it was an owl. I mean, the weird thing we had was up in northwest New Jersey with the knocks and the. But I think it was I think we can play that one off as an owl, as a bird, or a raven, or crow, or whatever. But so you're gonna be one Smoky Mountain. That's in May, right? Beginning of May, first weekend.
No, that's July 23rd.
Oh, July
23rd. Yep. Okay, perfect. Hey, that gives us enough time to.
Definitely plenty of time. I actually know 2 people that are going to be going to that conference as well, so that definitely gives me more reason to. So
awesome. Yeah, that one's huge too. That's like double the size of. They've got a few more years under them. I forget what year they're on, but that's a good one. You want the energy and feel like you've come home to Bigfoot.
The Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. It's on its way to pass that. So.
Yeah.
I'm confident, definitely confident. But I'm 100% definitely. I'm 100% definitely gonna try to make that one too. I've heard a lot of great things about the activity down in Tennessee. So
great. Well, I promise to stalk you this time, so you're gonna see me everywhere and waiting to talk to you.
There you go. Awesome. I will leave you an extra key to my hotel room.
Whoa, careful now. Careful. At least play hard to get a little. Come on, I like
exactly.
Sleep,
Oh no, we're getting
young.
He heard mangina and he's like, "I'm in." That takes confidence.
Have a couple of things, awesome. Have a couple of joints rolled up for us. I mean, they still shoot you in Tennessee if you have pot, but it's worth the risk.
That'd be nice. It's going to be a big day, so yeah.
Hopefully, I get to see you down there. I'm going to try to make it. I made it to a couple conferences. I don't think I'm going to go to the Ohio one this year, but maybe I'll get to go to the Tennessee one is my big one this year. That'll be we'll see.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Awesome.
Hey, and Tiffany just asked down below, do you think Bigfoot are nomadic? And I absolutely do. I think one of the things they have stripped from us as a hominin, as a people, is that movement. Because when you travel, you open your heart, your mind. You have to be the best version of yourself because you're more reliant now on your interpersonal communication skills. And I think it's beneficial for them to move through different territories, interact, show respect and whatnot. But when they get older, no, I think they have a spot. And I say all this because that's what I would do. So who knows?
Makes
Who knows?
sense.
Yeah. And imagine, like, some people theorize they could do possibly 400 miles a night if they wanted to. Let's just say it's 200 a night. Like you're telling me if all of us were Squatches, all of us listening now, and we're like, hey, we're in Florida, but let's just run up to Georgia and steal a bunch of peaches. No way, let's go. And you can do it? You're telling me we're not going to do that? It's the same thing we did as kids. We got on our bicycles and we take off and we ride 6, 7, 8 miles into the woods, do our thing, and come. They're doing the same shit.
200 miles though, even like from just like a physics perspective, like there's too many things that have to go right to pull that off.
Yeah. I like I said, I have no idea, but from the descriptions of the way they've seen these things move, running behind cars on the freeway, moving at impossible speeds, and then you start watching the Nat Geo videos and you see how long like wolves can actually run and track caribou and moose and everything, and these great up and down hill up and everything. I think some pretty amazing things are possible. That's all I can say.
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure.
But 200, 400 seems ridiculous to me, but I don't know. I've never been 11 feet tall, 890 pounds, and built to rule.
So we'll never know, and we'll never know until we know, I guess.
Until we're reincarnated as a Squatch, and we're all like, yes, this is my favorite.
We were right the entire time.
Yep. I'll still be doing the mangina. It'll be awesome.
There we go. I'll still leave a key to my hotel room.
Bring it back. You bring it back around.
Yeah.
That's how that
or
works.
Whatever the equivalent is out in the woods. Yeah. Chuck will be there too.
What do you think?
All right. Well, I think we've run out of time for tonight. I want to thank everyone. For tuning in tonight. RPG. Thank you so much for coming on again. You're a friend of the podcast. We could definitely we could probably talk all night about this stuff, but
for sure.
I have to.
Yeah. Thank you so much, RPG.
Yeah. I have to get up and go to work tomorrow, so we have to cut it short. James Brost, thanks for coming on. Everyone listening. Next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Chuck and I will be back. We're having Ken Gerhardt come on, so that should be a good one. And thanks again for everyone else coming on. Brendan, play us out whenever you're ready.
Hey, this is Chuck Larson. You're watching the CARC channel on YouTube.
You've been watching From Behind Tall Trees, a Catskill Appalachian Research Collective production. For more information on this program and others like it, remember to like, share, and subscribe to CARC Universal today. To join the conversation on our Facebook group, become a member of the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective Facebook group. CARC. Relentless.